Good evening. I'd like to call to order the called board meeting this Monday night, May the 11th. On our agenda tonight, first item is budget approval for 2021 school year. Mr. Cox?
All right, thank you, Madam Chairman and board members. We've got, I think I gave you the cover sheet and a previous budget for you to review, and then Dina put an updated budget on your table. And I'll go over the high points of those and then the changes that we made on the additional budget, GP budget that you had. So in developing our 2021 budget, general purpose school budget, we did that with no local tax increase for 2021. There was a reappraisal. Obviously, I think in the paper you probably saw that reappraisal. So we hit the same dollar figure as far as local property tax. We did lower the number of pennies that we would be receiving, but we're looking at the bottom dollar line. The penny increased about $10,000, I believe, a little bit over that. So we're using the same property tax value with no tax increase for property tax revenue for this year. We were able to do a $1,000 increase for all certified staff. We did get $595,000 in BEP, $565,000 extra in BEP revenue this year, and we're required to put $322,000 into salaries. So giving a $1,000 increase for all certified staff is around that number. It's right at $565,800 for that increase. So we're doing $500 in this budget for our classified staff. That's another $111,575 for the classified increase. So that's an increase of $677,375 for the raises. We also got an insurance increase of 5% from the state. So that's $160,400 for the insurance increase. Of course, that means the premiums for employees will increase in January. So that's passed along, but they will remain the same until January. The biggest item is in our capital projects. As you know, we're finishing up West Elementary's project, and we were $1.2 million above what the bond would cover because of the ADA requirements that we had to do at West. So we're able to put that $1.2 million in capital projects this year. From that, to complete, $495,000 is kitchen equipment, so that money's coming from school nutrition, so that'll offset that $1.2 million. The funding for the ESG loan and the bond we have for the electrical cost, we moved out of the electricity line item in the budget because we're seeing that really going well. So when we get to the bottom line, we're able to do all of that without a tax increase, and we're projecting if you go to the last page of your budget, we're projecting that at the end of the year, 6/30/21, we should have $5,416,833 in our reserves, but actually you will probably have closer to $8 million because if you look at our amended budget for 1920 and what we're actually going to spend because we've not been in school, we probably put back about $3.5 million back into reserves. So we'll finish, probably the year strong. We're showing $4,340,524 out of our reserves to balance our budget, but of that, that $1.2 million is in the West project. So that's pretty much the long and short of it. Also in here, we did receive yesterday, the reason for the update is we did receive word over the weekend, as a matter of fact, that we did get our E-rate funding. That's reimbursement funding from the federal government. So that was $890,216. And that will go for internet access and our Wi-Fi management system. And to get that money, we have to spend $113,000. So we put in 113, they give us 890. So that's I think that's a deal any way you slice it. So, but I'll answer any questions that you might have about that.
Bobby, no, we're just looking at this budget. Are we looking at the federal budget as well, or is that
Yeah, we'll look at those after
okay, so
GP.
let's concentrate on this one.
Yes.
Just to clarify what you had said earlier, what we're doing with our raises, the BEP requirement was, what they gave us is 500.
Right.
The requirement was 300, but we're going to go ahead and give the so we're
Yes.
going above what
Yes.
was required.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If we just gave the used the $322,000 mark, we would get, teachers would get somewhere around a little over $500 a year. So with the insurance going up, we felt like, 1,000 was close. We also hear, information coming down from the state that, just to clarify that the, teachers should be getting a 2%, 2% raise. Well, that's not the case. The 2% is in the instructional portion of the BEP. The governor put 2% for salaries in the instructional categories of the BEP. Of that, we receive 80%. So that's why we have to, put in, we don't get the full amount. That's why we get that 565,000, and we also lost about 50 students. So we don't get 100% to do a 2%. So that's always a discussion point, all the time. We tell the governor, don't say that.
This year to, where the state says that level that we have to stay at for the teachers, that we don't get dinged if we go below?
Yeah, they'll require that. That 322s, we have to do that. And they run 2 years behind on that average weighted salary.
Okay.
So the $2,000 we did last year won't show up until next year. So in the average weighted salary.
Bobby, it's one of those things that we have absolutely no control over, but it's been, for years, for decades, this chase between what the school systems are able to do in terms of compensation improvements versus our upward costs of health insurance.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, after this $1,000 increase for certified and $500 for classified, and you may not have had time to study that, but I'm just wondering what our people are going to be able to net out, those who elect to use the state teachers.
Yeah, we don't have the premium set, yet. We'll have to get those done probably in August, before, because they'll stay the same until December 31st, and then in January 1 they'll roll over. I could probably guess, it shouldn't go up a great deal. Where it'll really go up is, for classified staff, because they don't get that offset from, the state that teachers get. So, we try to mitigate that, the best we can. But, last year there was no insurance increase, so that was good. So they saw the full $2,000 they got. So this year, we did get a 5%. It was actually, we thought it was going to be more than that. So 5% is probably good, with what we have right now.
After going a year without an increase.
Right.
That's good. Right. Just one other thing, and here again, because all this is so new, and you just recently got the state BEP figures, but do you know where we're going to land for our certified on that spectrum of the different school districts in Tennessee?
I did look at that. Of course, this would be reflective of our salary schedules last year, so we're still about in the middle. I want to say, maybe in the 40s, somewhere along in there. I can visualize it. There's 3 columns, and we're in the middle column.
Okay.
Our starting salary is very competitive. It's $39,000. The state minimum is $36,000, so we're well above that. You know, where it probably hits us a little bit is our master's level. But as you know, we've been trying to work on that salary schedule for years to kind of get that more even, I guess you'd say. But the early 1 through 5 years master's level, that's where it's a little bit lower and then it increases. So we're about middle of the road, you know, probably in the 40s out of 142 districts.
Okay.
We've been worried for the last little bit about our diminishing reserves, and this has got a really good reserve. And I think maybe for those wondering, you know, why do we have so? But not knowing what we're going into in the coming year is a big deal. And I know the state is worried about their funding and all of that. And we've got all this set, but you know, come next spring, we don't know what will hit us. So I'm glad to see a good reserve. You did a really great job on identifying all the different changes and non-changes and all of that. And there's one, and it's not a lot, but it's doubled the textbooks. It went from 600
to over 1 million.
Yeah.
The textbook adoption this year was our ELA adoption.
Okay.
So English language arts. So that was a big adoption. Okay. We actually had to move money from our reserves at the end of the year last year to get started on that this year. So I think more of our books are consumables, and they're rising in cost every year. So, but the ELA adoption was a really big one, so that's why we moved those funds in there.
Gotcha.
You know, we have this discussion every time we talk about textbook procurement and the costs. And here again, it's a big 1.2 million about moving more and more content over to digital format. I'm just wondering. You know, I guess when we were looking at this 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, we thought that by this time, 2020, that paper books would be a thing of the past.
Right.
Obviously, we're not getting, and I know there are forces that impinge on us that we can't control, but what's your outlook?
Yeah, there's a lot of open source materials out there now that are free, obviously, that you can use. But, to access the textbook companies and the recommendations from the State Department on ELA and, the recommendation of the Textbook Commission, you have to purchase that to ensure that you get the technology options as well. So, there is no open source on that. So you still have to purchase the textbook. To get the technology option. Now, we are getting a subscription with a company called Thrivist that will consolidate all of our electronic media. We're going to use that. We used it free for the end of the year this year, but we will use it next year to take all of our digital content, put it in one place, so our teachers go to one place to get that digital content. So, hopefully eventually we might start using some more open source materials. It might reduce some of that cost this year. Next year shouldn't be as bad because they have canceled the math adoption for next year. So we'll have 2 years to really implement English language arts. So probably that cost will be reduced a little bit next year because we won't have to, purchase new math textbooks.
Appreciate that.
Well, we can discuss further, I'm sure, but I'll go ahead and move that we accept this proposed budget.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept 2021 budget approval. And is there any further discussion on that?
This will be just a general purpose.
Oh, excuse me, general purpose.
Yeah.
Now, Bobby, this one that was on the desk, this is unchanged from what we got this morning, or
the one on the desk is a minor change from that. Oh, and there was one other item in there that I did, put in there for was talked about with the board about consultation as we move into director leadership. I did put an amount in there if there's a contract, if you want to contract with me or whoever to help, with new director consultation. So I put that in, and that'll be something that y'all can determine as we go.
And that is reflected in the one we.
That is in the budget, yes.
And that's what your motion is for,
Thank you.
Teddy,
Yes.
the one on the desk.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Dina, will we need a roll call, or Robin, since money issue? Okay, fine, great.
Not spending money.
Yeah, they do at the county commission on expenditures. Roll
Okay.
call. So that's fine. We're good.
Next budget is the federal, we'll look at the federal programs budget. I think it was second in your packet. You know, you've already approved this a month or so ago. We had to get that in, so this budget is virtually unchanged. It's just put in the format that the commission needs. So it's, you know, it's just money in, money out. There's no reserve to that. So it's, you know, the same budget that you approved.
Bobby, are we still, are we seeing a reduction in the federal funds
No, actually, we got an increase.
increase?
Yeah, we got an increase. Let me find that through all federal funds. Should have that right here. Hopefully, right here. Yeah, with Title I, we got an increase of $533,371. Title II was $114,036. Title III was $820.07. 4 was $34,219. 5 was $7,173.95. Special ed Part B was $77,407, and preschool was $7,122. And then our carryover, we'll still have our carryover that will come in on top of that after September. And I don't know that amount right yet until we close out. And then we're due to probably get around 1.6 million in stimulus funds when that comes out. And that would probably be latter part of May, possibly June, when that'll come out.
Is there gonna be a specific item on that money that you have to spend it for?
Yeah, for the stimulus money, the biggest items that they're telling us that we need to look at are connectivity and technology. So those two are the big ticket items. They have to be non-recurring funds, so they can't be used for salaries. You know, can't be used for infrastructure as far as buildings go. But that's what the last word that I got was connectivity and, you know, internet access and technology. So, and then we will have more than a year to spend that. So it actually runs through the fiscal year 22 to get that spent. So, but
Okay, regarding the federal budget, do we have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more further discussion? Okay, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
all right, last but certainly not least is our school nutrition budget. I think that should be the last 3 pages possibly of your packet. You can see there our revenues are a little bit increased from estimated from last year. Of course, we do have our feeding programs that are ongoing right now. We'll have our summer feeding programs as well. We would be using a little over $1 million to balance our budget there, and that still leaves us estimated about $2.4 million in school nutrition, which, you know, would probably be better than that at the end of the year. But again, this is just like the federal programs budget. It's governed by reimbursement and federal government, and they monitor that. So it's just basically really, you know, money in, money out, and they determine how much we can hold in reserve on that.
Okay, regarding nutrition food service budget, we have a motion on that.
Motion.
Motion from Teddy Jones. To have a second? Second, Ms. Sue Anderson. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. We also have our annual resolution that'll be before the county commission on Monday night that allows federal programs budget to, be monitored by federal programs, so the commission won't be governing that or voting on the federal programs in the school nutrition budget. They'll just consider the general purpose budget. So we do that every year, and they'll consider that on Monday night. All right. Well, thank you very much. I felt good about the budgeting process this year, and happy that we had a healthy reserve, and I think we'll even have a little bit more than what we're estimating at the end of the year this year. But you never know. I pray that we never have to go through a pandemic again, and at least in my lifetime. But having those reserves there enabled us to keep our people paid and employed while they're working at home and while they're out. And I think that's helped quite a bit. So just thankful that we've got that, and hopefully we'll continue to have that in the future.
Well, I'm sure a lot's going to be said in the next few weeks, Bobby, as you leave, but you're leaving us with a good budget and good books.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Leaving us with money in the bank, which is good.
Healthy fund balance,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, well, that's the intent. I like to keep it around that $5-6 million mark in reserve, and if we can do that, I think we can usually solve any problems that we have, or if we have a big issue, then we can handle that. But I mean, that's credit to you all too. You all approved the budget, so, and Mary Jennifer and our staff for pulling that together. So.
Bobby, I've asked you this, and this is the question for which there's probably no answer right now. But I guess I've kind of tormented you with this. Is what are you hearing from the State Department on our sales tax revenues in the next fiscal year? The impact of the COVID-19 drain on state revenues hasn't been fully realized, and we don't know. But the early estimate that was that the Tennessee economy in general would get about a $5.5 billion hit. And since our sales tax, with the local option sales tax approaches 10%, you can kind of figure what kind of numbers you're looking at. I mean, I'm just wondering if they are saying anything to you, or if we're just needlessly concerned about it. I don't know. The state has the rainy day funds up to $1 billion, but in the context of a $40 billion annual outlay, that's if you didn't have any other income, you'd be a week and a half, and that's all you'd have on that $1 billion if you used it all. Right.
Well, we've seen a little bit of a drop, obviously, in the last month in our sales tax. We were still above estimate as of March. Hadn't got April numbers in, exactly yet. So once we see those, we'll probably see a little bit of a drop. Hopefully it won't be too drastic. But as the economy gets back going again, hopefully in June, end of May and June, we'll see numbers bounce back. But I would expect that we would probably see a deficit this year in sales tax. But that's probably to be expected, as most things were closed down, over the, month of March and early April. Well, almost all of April. So. But from the state, have not heard anything really from the state, preparing us, other than I did talk with State Department officials, and, Nashville obviously took a big hit, in sales tax and tourism dollars. And those who depend more on the BEP because of tourism dollars, they're struggling now more than most. So, most of our BEP funds, 80% comes from the state, so that helps us, and we're not as reliant on tourism and sales taxes as some.
It's a great thing when things are going well if you're in Sevier County, where millions of people come in and dump their taxes into your coffers, and but when things turn around and Dollywood shuts down,
that's
and
not good.
All that, it's
they're completely on the other end. They're more reliant on tourism dollars, at the 80% mark. So BEP is not helping them that well. All right. So we need to go to the next item, Madam
Next
Chairman?
item, Bobby Ray, Porter Roofing, liquidated damages.
Yes, yes. Okay, on the Bobby Ray project, roofing project. This is a separate project that our engineer, Mr. Rinks, monitored for us, and this was on Building B, small building on the side where the new construction was. They went over their allotted days for that, so liquidated damages for that would be in $7,000 if the board wishes to assess that. Plus, we had $10,000 in the contingency that was not used. So what the reduction would be in the project cost would be $17,000, bringing it down to $189,121. So our engineer recommended that we assess the liquidated damages for that project and reduce by $10,000 the retainage that was not used. So I'd make that recommendation if the board so wishes, and that would be in the amount of $17,000 for that project.
Well, Madam Chairperson, with $17,000 coming back to us, I would be happy to move for adoption of the administration's recommendation.
Okay. Mr. Zegman made a motion.
I'll second it.
Ms. Sue Anderson second that motion. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
All right, thank you again. Moving on to our upcoming events and our prom, graduation, and opening back up for athletics, things of that type. So, in your packet there, we gave you the plan that was really kind of developed by the high school in conjunction with the guidance from the State Department, really the governor's office, and our local health department. I would like to correct one thing in there. It says we have consulted and received approval from our local health department. Well, the local health department does not approve or deny plans. They give us guidance on those plans. So I wanted to read what they sent to us about that, so that would be on the record and you had all the correct information about that. So this was from Andrea Fox regarding our prom and graduation and other activities. Says that the health department does not approve plans but provides guidance. We remain concerned about the transmission in large gatherings, especially since we continue to have positive cases in people without symptoms. It would be better to follow the 50% capacity guidelines set for the churches and restaurants, following the Department of Education's guidance to limit guests to 2 per graduate for graduations would help and reduce the possible transmission. It said regardless of the plan, encouraging attendees to respect social distancing is of the utmost importance. So, we followed the guidelines from the State Department. The commissioner had weekly calls about that with superintendents, stating how they were going to do their graduation ceremonies, or if they were going to do a prom, or how they were going to do gatherings. And, we followed of course, ours is outside. We would have it on the football field. Follow the guidance that you see there. Our students would be 6 feet apart. We would not have a processional where students would be lined up. They would enter and go in and sit at their seat until the graduation ceremony started. Attendees would come in. They would be screened when they came in. They would have a band that shows that they were with a graduate. They would be seated, social distanced apart on both sides of the stadium. The rows behind the same way. They said in the guidance that maybe every 3 rows is where they would be seated all the way across, so we felt like we could handle that. In our plan, we put, 4 admittance. And the reason we thought about that was because if there are split families, then, somebody's not going to get to see that. Of course, we will televise it. It'll be on WCS TV. It'll be on our YouTube station. I was contacted a couple of weeks ago by Kelly Walker at the radio station. It'll be broadcast on the radio station. It'll be recorded, so family members who couldn't attend in person, maybe their parents would have options to do that. So I think the plan, is good. Like I said, it seems like everything's opening back up. I mean, the very night that we're going to, if you all approve, have the graduation, Main Street Live's kicking off their concert series. So I don't know how they're going to social distance that, but, I think things are opening back up there. And then for the prom, again, it's more of a come and go variety. It would be here at the school. It would be out front in the outdoors in front of the gym lobby. We would limit the number that would come in. There would be a time frame. They'd be screened. They'd be in groups of less than 10. That would be monitored. They'd be cleaned. The items would be cleaned as students leave and, come back. So that's, I'll be glad to any discussion that we want to have about that. Be glad to answer any of that.
It talked about the fever of 100.4. Are we going to be taking their temps, or are we just going to trust what they say?
Well, we have ordered temporal thermometers. Hopefully we can get some of those there. If not, then we were going to engage the health department to see if they would work with us on that. When I met with the directors group a couple of weeks ago, they offered that, so I would need to get with them to see if they could come and, help us, monitor with that. And that 100.4 is the fever they use in the guidance that we have. So, yeah, we would try to screen everybody that came in.
Just for clarification, graduation is set for June 12th, 7 p.m., but in case of inclement weather, it's going to be Saturday, June the 13th at 7, and again, for inclement weather, it would be held Sunday, June 14th.
Right. And we would, do that in the gym on the 14th if we had to, and then we would have to limit even more.
Right.
And there would have to be groups, and, that at that point in time, we might even look at some virtual, ceremony along with that if we needed to. But, I'm hopeful that we can give our seniors at least some semblance of a ceremony. They've already missed so much, and, I think they deserve that. If we can do that to the best of our ability. And again, all of this is, prom and graduation obviously would all be upon parent permission. If a parent didn't feel like that they wanted their child to attend those ceremonies, then we would make other arrangements, to provide them with, their diploma, to have that photo op that they need and deserve, and to recognize them in a way that we, should. And we also, in this plan, with the VIP, the virtual instructional program, would also be involved in this ceremony, so they would have their ceremony at the same time.
Will you elaborate just a little bit on how you all have talked about county schools doing their 8th grade and kindergarten graduation?
Right. We did get some feedback from parents about that, and what we decided that would be best, and actually the principals decided would be best, would to wait 2 weeks before school starts and to have those kindergarten recognitions, 8th grade recognitions, to see what the time, the climate was at that point in time, and to organize those, have those at the school. But we've really felt like, obviously, high school graduation is more important. Students are going to be going to college, going into the military, going, their separate ways. And, we wanted to recognize our elementary students, but thought that was the best way to do that before school starts next year.
Okay, thank you. So we just need a motion on the event scheduling guidelines.
Yep.
Okay.
Bobby, you might have, maybe you're going to say something a little later about the revised pre-K and kindergarten screening plan.
Right.
We want to do that as a separate item?
We can do it together. I think those plans, Ms. Turner developed those plans, and you have that copy of that as well, I think, in your packet. And let me get over there to it. This is going to be more virtual than anything else. We're going to be doing more online screening with those students. So really, kindergarten screening is going to be more virtual. The pre-K screening will be more in person. We're going to have it in the high school gym because it'll be bigger. We will bring students in small increments, encouraging face masks and face coverings. Be very limited on what we do and, items that they would be touching and, manipulating. But I think this, plan will work out a whole lot better. At least we don't have pre-K and kindergarten students in mass together at that time. So I think that's a good plan as well. And then also the athletics plan, that was in there. So if we want to do that as well, Mr. Wilmore has worked on that. Again, we would use, checking of temperatures of students as they come in to do weightlifting or practicing, observing, the social distance and the guidelines of groups of 10 or less. Basketball, volleyball, cheer, limited to 45 minutes, for tryouts and, 15 minutes for exiting the facility. Football, baseball, soccer, in much the same way. And the Upper Cumberland schools are all using June 1st as the target date for return following those guidelines. So that would be the end of the executive order on the 29th. And on June 1st, we would allow students to come back and start practicing, athletics within those guidelines. So.
Okay, thank you.
I just say that I think Bobby and Mr. Clark George, and Ms. Turner and everybody involved in this, Todd Wilmore, has done an excellent job of trying to cover all the bases and observe all of the public health precautions that the State Health Department and Department of Education have recommended. I still having a little difficulty understanding exactly how all this is going to work, but I personally have confidence that you all will make it work. I think one of the things we want to think about for our pre-K and kindergarten screening is that there be nothing that would diminish our numbers, that we got the maximum,
Right.
the maximum effect and got those children in there, because that is so essential. Our school system, I think, has done a superb job in those screening programs. Getting it out of that little gym at West Elementary, that'll be an improvement. But I, from one, and I've looked at this very carefully in the state guidance. So, Madam Chairperson, I'm going to recommend adoption of the schedule and process changes necessitated by the COVID pandemic.
For all items, graduation,
items.
prom,
Including
athletics,
prom.
and pre-K and K screen.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bill Zekman, a second by Sue Anderson. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
I would
Probably
say,
be a lot less beach balls at this graduation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
we'll see. Well, there.
no.
I would say there will be a lot of jubilant seniors knowing that they were
Finally got there.
going to at least have a semblance of normal. So appreciate you all. Yeah, appreciate you all working with us, and we will do absolutely everything we can to make it as safe as possible. The last item, I believe, is some items for West Elementary. There was, let me get back over, I've been swapping emails with Alan for the last 2 weeks, really. The West Elementary project is moving forward. There are some things that, one specific item that we do need to address, but I wanted to read his email to you that I got late today. There's items that will probably be coming in the May 28th meeting. There's vinyl tiling in the lobby that's stained, and we need to polish that concrete, so that's could be an additional cost. SRO parking space, we've discussed doing something that on the front part of the building. reducting a shaft wall in the basement area for air conditioning there. New door frames in the kitchen and the old cafeteria area. Taking out some boarding and flooring in the cafeteria to expose some conduit and wiring there, so that could be a cost that we would have to come back and redo. Replacing library and cafeteria doors, replacing front entry doors. So there's several items there, and I told Mr. Hill that I needed cost estimates for all those things and time estimates about what it's going to cost us in time getting the project done. So he is working on those, and if it's okay with the board, if we get those costs back and they are within the contingency of the project and they're required, then if we can do that by executive approval, then we can probably move that a little faster. If it looks like it's going to be an extreme cost, then we would bring it on the 28th. Is that okay to do that?
That's
with you?
fine.
Okay. So when I get those costs and prices, I'll make sure everybody knows that, and we'll see. The one item that we do need to address tonight is a fire marshal required item, and that's on your desk. It is a steel ramp that is required for ADA compliance, and it's on the back of the old cafeteria that we're doing. So Mr. Hill got several quotes for that. Let me pull that up. And the recommendation would be there is a prefabricated ramp, and the cost of that ramp is $7,591.77. That was the lowest cost. The steel ramps that were anywhere from $39,000 to $50,000 in cost. So this prefab ramp was by far the better option. It meets all the ADA requirements, and our maintenance staff would be able to put that up. So it's really just bolting it in and putting the screws together for that ramp. So Mr. Hill's recommendation is to go with the prefab ramp that you see in front of you for the cost of $7,591.77, and that would come out of the contingency of the project. So
Versus
that's
the
this-
39 to 50,000?
yes.
There's such a large cost difference. Is the durability similar, the same material?
Well, the steel ramp obviously would have to be fabricated, moved, constructed, special. So that's why the cost is so high on both of those. Okay. One also had some concrete work that had to be done in there. So with this, it's more mobile. I think it would be sturdy. I think his recommendation, he felt comfortable with that. And, just our folks being able to put it in saves the labor cost of that. So if he's comfortable with it, and I think our maintenance guys have the ability to do that, then I'm comfortable with it.
That's what you've given us, this national ramp.
Yes.
Commercial access.
Yes.
That, I'm no architect, but those drawings are very impressive, and it is all aluminum.
Yes, it is. Lighter weight.
Yeah.
Probably more durable as well.
Yeah, won't have the rust issues that we would have with steel.
With steel.
The drawings look beautiful.
Yeah.
So we need a motion to.
Yeah, we will need a motion to
motion.
approve that. Yes.
I move, Madam Chairperson, to accept the bid of $7,591.77 for the prefab aluminum ramps, guardrails proposed by National Ramp Company.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Bill Zagman, a second by Teddy Jones. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
All right, I think that's all I have. Is that all I have, Dina? All right.
Okay, next on our agenda is Director of Schools position contract approval. Do you all have any questions floor is open for questions.
I would just like to propose this contract to, that the residency be 6 months instead of a year. And I'd like to propose that it would be, the term of the contract would be 3 years instead of 4. And I'd like to propose that the salary would be $110,000, currently what our director is making now, versus $115,000.
Okay, let me repeat that.
Okay?
Mr. Bennett has proposed a 6-month residency requirement instead of 12, 3 years instead of 4 year regarding his term of contract, and salary 110 versus 115. Okay, any further discussion on that? Any comments?
I'd just like to comment that the discussion with the compensation of being what it is that we know that when Bobby, for several years, he didn't take a salary increase. And with the cost of living and everything, I would just suggest that it stay like we had it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think due to the residency that we discussed, the 1 year, due to our new normal of COVID-19, the fact that Mr. Swallows has 3 children, we don't know what the housing market is going to look like. We felt that 12 months was ample time to move his family, move his 3 children down here, and I propose 12 months.
Madam Chairperson, the only thing I'd have to say, as you all know, I made the motion originally when we started this process of trying to recruit applicants and do the vetting and evaluation, that whoever was selected be offered a 1-year contract, because at that time I was just very concerned that, we didn't really know, we didn't know how the whole field of candidates would shape up. I've backed off of that position because I realized, on the basis of good counsel, good advice, that this is a big career step, and it's a big life change for whoever takes the job. And so I've willingly backed up. I kind of see the error of my ways. I think I knew what I was thinking about at the time, but the 1-year contract would not be feasible.
Right.
So that's why I've backed up on that. And I just would say about the 1-year transition period, as far as I'm concerned, that was offered just out of humane consideration for the family. And I'm absolutely dead set that whoever our director of schools is a bona fide, legitimate, permanent resident of Warren County.
Right.
I don't see how it could work otherwise, credibly. So, I guess that's my feelings on the issue. And I'm other than that, you've negotiated these terms, and I'm not sure whether this evening, we could get back and renegotiate with Mr. Swallows. So I don't know, but that's just my state of mind at the moment.
I think there's a motion on the floor, James. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are you all ready? We have the first motion. Do I have a second for James' changes, proposed changes to Grant Swallows' current contract? Proposed contract, excuse me. Okay, we did not get a second, so that motion will fail for lack of a second. I'll open the floor back up.
Madam Chairman, I'll move that we accept the proposed contract as submitted and signed.
Okay, Teddy Jones has made a motion that we accept the proposed contract as submitted and signed. Do I have a second on
Okay,
that?
now this, I'm sorry, but what we're voting on is what we have on the desk. This has not changed since from the, what we got this morning, right? All the language is the
This
same.
is the one you got this morning. the
Okay,
current one.
okay, thank you.
I second.
So I have a motion by Mr. Teddy Jones and a second by Ms. Helen Martin to accept the current, the only one, proposed contract for Mr. Grant Swallows. Any further discussion? Okay, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
No?
Okay. Okay.
Just for my notes, who was the second on that?
Ms. Helen,
Okay.
okay. All right.
I think
Now,
probably be appropriate to have Mr.
Not-
Wallace
Mr.
come in
Swallows, would you like to come?
and speak.
Well, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your confidence in me, and I'm excited to get to work. Bobby has set the bar extremely high, and then as he goes out the door, he puts millions back in the fund balance. So he's setting the bar even higher.
What a deal.
So I do appreciate you all and your confidence. I look forward to getting on the ground and meeting with you all and meeting with all our employees and trying to get ingrained into the county. And I already had several good conversations and appreciate those people reaching out and appreciate you all and look forward to our time together. We'll spend considerable time together and we're excited. My family's here with me. They stayed out in the parking lot and but I hope that they will get to meet you before the evening's complete. So thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to say, while Grant's here, we've had a few conversations over the last couple of days, and found Grant, as his reputation precedes him, he's a fine young man, good educator, and cares about students, and not only White County, but I know now in Warren County, and we're going to be meeting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week to try to get him onboarded the best we can with all the projects and programs, and try to introduce him to folks in the community that he needs to know. I think his plan is to probably meet with our staff starting the following week, and then, as the contract states, we'll hand over the keys on the 27th or 22nd, and then I'll be in and out, using vacation days and things that I've got saved up through the month of June, but I'll be around to help him in any way possible. And I know we had great candidates, had 2 local candidates as well that very quality folks and educators in our system, and as well as Dr. Alsop as well, and Grant is also included in that group. So I look forward to working with him. I look forward to supporting him. And I know that our educators and our system will do the same and make this transition as smooth as possible as we can, and move forward. So appreciate you all's hard work and dedication, and I know it wasn't easy over the past few months, and I'm sorry that I maybe have put you in that position, I guess, but I think that we'll make it through, as I said, and going to do our job to make sure it's as smooth as we can. And I know Grant and I'll have good conversations over the next couple of weeks.
And I appreciate that too, if I may say. I appreciate him already so much, but transition in normal circumstances is tough. But in our current circumstances, it's even tougher. And so I appreciate Bobby and his love for this school system and his love for the district and the county. And I'm going to lean heavy on him to mentor me in that. So I appreciate him being willing to do that, and you all being willing to allow him to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Swallows.
Bobby, I just wanted to say to you, the last 8 years, and 6 of them I've been with you, your dedication that you have showed to this system has been above and the call of duty. The tireless hours, day and night, when something went on, something happened, you're caring about staff, the teachers, and the people in the community, the respect that this community has for you, as well as this board. And I just wanted to tell you, I thank you for, I know you took a lot of hours from your family, so maybe now you can spend some time with them.
Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot. I appreciate that. And we got to graduate one, as I said, Saturday, who came through our school system and now getting ready to go on and hopefully be a pharmacist in 4 years, and then hopefully graduate another one on the 12th. And that's one of the things that I guess we do need to, if the board is okay with that, obviously Grant will take over on the 22nd, and if Grant's okay with it as well, I would like to complete the graduation ceremony if you all would allow me to, and Grant's okay with doing that.
Absolutely.
You know, to kind of bring some closure to the class of 2020. So if that's okay, I would like to do that.
No, absolutely. I think that would be unanimous. Bobby, I want to second what Mr. Bennett said. We all deeply appreciate your work, your dedication. Anybody in the very demanding and complex job that you've been in for the last 8 years is going to encounter some disappointments and maybe some obstacles along the way, but you have always dealt with them in an honorable, poised, and very decent manner, and we appreciate that. I know that there's certain outcomes that I guess we measure, and we measure them because they're important. And you know, your will, your determination, your persistence has helped to improve that situation. As I've said before, and here again, I guess I'm sort of on an apology to her because I may have accidentally offended some people and disappointed some people with what I said about our ACT, but it has not. You know, if there are any shortcomings, any deficiencies, it's not because of lack of effort on Bobby's part, and not just Bobby, but principals, instructional coordinators, interventionists, grade level teachers, everybody up and down the line has contributed. We are at a turning point. We didn't ask for it. You decided to retire. We'll have your 30 years then, but. You know, this is a turning point. It will have some challenges and maybe a few setbacks, but I think everybody on this board is determined to make this successful for the benefit of our students and our county, present and future.
Absolutely. Well,
so I think, and I can speak for one person, but you certainly have my support and encouragement in every possible way. I want to thank also, while we're at it, Tanya, who has doing something that I guess she's ever done before, has done an absolutely magnificent job of steering us through this entire process from the early recruiting of applicants. After doing this, Tanya, you're ready to do anything. You can do anything. But Robin, as school system counsel, and Dina, always there to help and keep us on track, and of course Bobby. We've had a tremendous amount of help, and don't want to forget to mention something that's become very important to us, or we've noticed how important it is our relationship with BLTV and our online presence, thanks to Joe Harvey, so the whole community could join us electronically for these meetings. So thanks to you all. Thank you.
all right.
Well said, Bill. I move for dismissal.
Okay.
We have a motion to
Ready to
adjourn.
go.
Wait just a minute, Tanya. Do we need to talk about Marston School?
We can. I can give you an update on
Okay,
Marston
please.
real quick. The straight line winds that happened a couple of weeks ago blew in 2 glass panels in the cafeteria into the cafeteria. So we did have some breakage there, and obviously there was some structural things that we questioned about how that was built and if it was, able to handle the wind damage that that happened there. Obviously, it wasn't. So we've contacted a local contractor. They've come out. They're putting in stability on top and bottom of those glass panels, not only there, but the ones on the back side of the building in the gym, so that this won't happen again. So we're kind of beefing that up. But one of the good things that happened there was the coverings for the windows, caused the windows not to shatter, which was a good thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's very concerning that if students were in that cafeteria, it would have injured several students if we had that. So we're taking the steps. Our maintenance guys are taking the steps to make sure that that's handled properly and secured, and shouldn't have any more trouble with that, I hope.
Bobby,
you had a little bit of superficial damage to this building, to the
yeah, the stucco blew off the side of this building, so we're getting somebody to come and replace that. So, but it's watertight.
Okay, good.
Will the contractor be liable for any of the damages?
I don't think so. Obviously, the building's outside of the warranty period. So I can't. The cost to replace the windows and to beef that up was not extreme, so it wouldn't get into our insurance. So we can handle that there. But there, I don't think we investigated that, but I don't think we can go back on them.
Okay.
At
Thank
this
you
point.
for that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Anything else? I think we've had a motion to adjourn. I think we're adjourned. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you much.